Hey everyone, I hope you're having a good and wonderful morning thus far, or maybe it's your evening. I have just started my day. I look like I've only just woken up. I know, but I didn't. I woke up ages ago. It's just that I've had a few late nights, and by the time you're in your 40s, it kind of starts to show really easily. So, there you go. I'm just going to get back into my good habit of going to bed when I should. Okay, so today I actually want to do something different. It's not different to my life, but it is different to what I've been doing on the channel thus far. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been wanting to add a little more of Bible. So, if you're a child of God, come join me. If you're not and you're curious, come join me. What I really, really love is to go straight to the source. This is the source, okay? I actually have a children's Bible. I grew up with a Bible that was only in Old English, which is the King James version of the Bible, and in my adulthood I actually came across other versions of the Bible that have far simpler English, and my favorite became my daughter's childhood Bible. I love it because it's just so easy to read, and you can read it almost like a normal book, and just sort of soak a little bit more of the story or the message, or I really enjoy it. I do believe God speaks through all of the different versions of the Bible. I'm not one to say, oh, this version is better than that one, and don't you dare go to that version. God is far bigger and far stronger than all of that, and He can speak to each and every one of us through anything, actually, including His Bible. All right, so this is what I like to do, and I'm gonna bring you along on the journey that I like to do. I like to just open up my Bible at random, totally random spot. Sometimes I even close my eyes when I do it. And then I like to just allow my eyes to just land on the first verse that it lands on. Sometimes I'll let my finger just have a little travel through the air down to the Bible, and then I look down and see what it landed on. So let's have a read. I love doing that because it's so beautifully random. You totally know that whatever you've come across that day is something you were meant to read. It was kind of given to you for that day. So let's have a read. All right. Okay, so we've come across Isaiah chapter 13, verse 22. Let's see what God has to say today. All right, it goes like this. Wolves will howl within the strong walls. Wild dogs will bark in the beautiful buildings. The end of Babylon is near. Its time is almost over. Booyah! Wow. I am surprised that God's given me this today and given it to you as well. This is like a solemn message, actually. So, if you don't know what Babylon refers to, which, most of us would, I would say, most of us would know what Babylon refers to, especially given there was a movie called Babylon that came out, when was it, 2 years ago? Babylon usually means just, I guess, the filth of the world, Hollywood and political corruption and sexual depravity, like example, human trafficking. Pedophilia is another one. That's probably a word. Is that word allowed on YouTube? I don't know. Apparently there's words that are not allowed. I don't know. Whatever, right? It's a fact. It's a fact that that terrible thing exists in the world. So that's Babylon. Babylon is usually also refers to the leaders of the world that are in fact corrupt, right? They're by no means doing the right thing. They are only thinking of, I guess, taking advantage of the people that are like under their leadership. And it's usually seen as glamorous. So this is any kind of power or leader or conglomerate of powers and leaders in the world. So like I mentioned, some of them, it could be even celebrities. For a while were like deemed as these gods and goddesses, and we all listened to them. And so anything like that, anything that sort of seems to take over some level of authority in the world, and that isn't necessarily, that's initially glamorous, but it eventually becomes just filthy. And so that's, I think, what this verse is referring to. It says, wolves will howl. Now let's think about that. When wolves howl, and this we see it in movies as well, when wolves howl, it's usually such a piercing sound, and it is like a almost eerie, solemn kind of a sound, right? And it's usually because something is going down. If we think about a movie, it's usually something's going down, something bad's about to happen, or something sinister's going on. That's wolves howling. In nature, when wolves howl, I believe that it is not just because they're singing, like, birds, they just sing. They also warn. I guess lots of animals do have their warning call, but when a wolf howls, I believe it is 100% always a warning sound. So it says, wolves will howl within the strong walls. So these powers that be are like really strong. But why are wolves howling? Why is God depicting this image for us? That's really interesting. Then it says, wild dogs will bark in the beautiful buildings. Now, think of a beautiful building, any beautiful building, and you don't usually imagine wild dogs being a part of that imagery, right? You just don't. Think of, I don't know, the most beautiful building in your own city, or we can think of famous places like the Louvre, for example. Even if you think of like the most beautiful cathedral that you've ever seen or you've ever been in, think of anything like that, and you just don't tend to think of wilder dogs running around. So here God is painting a picture that's like so like crazy, like it doesn't even make sense. This does not make sense. And he even says wild dogs will bark in the beautiful building. So by the time we have wild dogs running around, I mean, let's think about that too. If we had wild dogs running around the street, like there's got to be something going on. It like we've reached a point then where things are crazy, things are out of hand. Maybe there's no food, maybe there's no forests left because for the dogs and the wolves to live in. Maybe there's no water and they're running around looking for water. So it's like when you really go deep and think about that, that's what God is trying to show us with this verse. It's showing us beautiful buildings, strong walls, but it's chaos inside. Like things are falling apart. And then he says, the end of Babylon is near. Its time is almost over. So that's it. That is God's big message for us today. I was kind of expecting that God would just take me to like a verse of like praise or a life lesson or something, but he had a very strong message for us today, and that is just to let us know that the time of the end of Babylon is near. So if you're someone who's been watching and observing the things that are going on around in the world the last few years, like in the last few years the world has gone crazy, like things really are falling apart. We've got wars going on, we've got natural disasters that are just totally inexplicable. Like I heard about the extreme flooding that happened in Spain recently. Like that just blew my mind away. We've got lots of strange things going on. We've got also a lot of like sin being shown up. So if you're a Christian, 100% we know what sin is. If you have ever known anything about God, you know what sin is. If you're just curious and you don't really know what on earth is going on, but you've decided to just come join me on this video today, and you're like, well, what's sin? Sin is just simply anything that's not what God intended for us in the very first place when he created us. So when God created us, everything was beautiful and ran perfectly, and there was no mistake or flaw to it at all. But then unfortunately things got broken, and that brokenness is what we see in the world to this day. It's not meant to last forever. God did not want it to last forever, and that's why he sent himself, that appeared to us on earth as Jesus, as the Son of God. Not because God gave birth, like that's a bit weird, that's not what happened, but he sent a part of himself to earth to kind of patch up the brokenness, to and more than that, to actually heal it. But at the moment we're in a time of craziness, especially in these last few years, and turmoil, and everything has to happen in its due time. You might be wondering, well, why is God just letting all of this happen? It's because everything has to happen in its own time, much like the caterpillar has to be cocooned for a little while and then it comes out eventually and turns into a butterfly. It has its time. So does the whole earth. The whole earth has its own time regarding where everything is going to go to. And what everything is going to go to is eventually, the whole earth will be healed and returned to how God created it in the first place, and returned to him. So if you've been watching everything going on around the earth, it has been crazy. It really is. That, you know, there's a lot of corruption being exposed, and you know, the end of Babylon really is near. So, and that's really exciting. That's really exciting. That means Jesus will come very soon. So if you've been on a path of wondering what on earth, and maybe you're fearful, maybe you're like, what's going on in the world, I don't know, or maybe you're losing faith and hope in just there ever being good in the world, all you have to do is just say, hi God, if you're up there, if you're real, just please give me peace. That's all you have to do. Those are probably the first few words you would ever say to God if you haven't spoken to Him before, and you're just feeling a bit like, what on earth? What on earth is going on? So yeah, this verse in particular is really quite exciting and also comforting to know that it's actually not going to last forever. All this craziness that we're seeing as really not going to last forever, it was never meant to. So yeah, hold on to hope. If you haven't had a conversation with God in a while, then do that today. It is called prayer, but it really is just a conversation with God. You can talk to Him like you would with any person, any loved one, any friend, because that's what He wants to be in your life. So just have a chat to Him and ask Him for peace. Thanks, everyone. Bye.